And welcome back, everyone. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show, and I'm your host, Robert Pepino. And as always, we have the incredible Bob Chapman, our leader, fearless leader, uh, leading us from tyranny to freedom. Bob, how are you? And welcome to the show.
Well, I hope, getting over a cold, and it could be an awful lot worse, but it's not. And it's rather surprising because I don't very often get colds. I don't know, maybe every 5 years or something. But anyway, lots going on out there
Oh, boy.
in Jefferson County. They've known that they probably would go bankrupt. I don't know, for probably, I guess it's 3 years now. And their problems came from kickbacks to the people who worked in the administration and J.P. Morgan Chase. They were the ones that sold them the derivatives. And I think this is just the beginning of these municipal problems. About 10 municipalities have gone under in the last 6 months to a year. And the only thing that's really kept them from not going under sooner, many others, is that the federal government last year and the year before, they lent these municipalities funds to keep from going under. And what's happened is there's been a time delay. And this coming year, you're going to see lots more. How many? It's hard to say. It all depends on which ones want to do the cutting they're supposed to do. A lot of these municipalities think that someone's going to come and save them, and they don't have frontline experience in facing this kind of adversity. I mean, it doesn't happen very often. We see maybe in the last 15 years, maybe there's been 10 that have gone under. And, it's not something that happens very often. I think everybody miscalculated the results of the fallout, first from the collapse of the stock market in April of 2000. And then they misjudged the real estate, the bubble. They truly thought it was going to go on forever. And as we know, it didn't. And that was, like, you think, the final straw for them. But you're going to see lots more. And so get ready for it.
Well, what I see is, I mean, how are they going to pay these retired municipal workers? How are they going to how are they going to be able to pay these pension funds, when they're completely broke? I just don't get it. That's my whole point.
Well, they won't. They won't.
That's
They're not going to get paid.
Boy. Well, I
And there's
mean,
nothing these people can do about it. And it's going to happen in every one of these instances. And how about all of the companies that, on average, are underwater in their funds for retirement programs? We'll say by an average of 50%. I mean, the Fortune 500, I think, are underwater. They've only allowed for monies in the amount of 72%. I mean, the stock market goes down to 65, 50 again. they're going to have to start cutting benefits. I mean, what other way can they do that? Can they continue to function? And I used to call it the stock market bomb, and then the real estate bomb, and then the retirement bomb. And we're in the process of getting the retirement bomb.
And they all blown up.
Well, a lot of people are going to be disappointed. That's why I tell people all the time, work as long as you can, as long as they'll allow you to. It's very important because it's a mess out there. And people are lucky they got jobs, never mind retirement.
Yeah. Do you see California? I mean, when do you see California really implode? I mean, that's the biggest economy in the United States.
I don't know, but I do know that they will. There's no way to save them.
Yeah, yeah. There's no question about it.
That's why I left California, I think, in 1994. And actually, I was 10 years early. And I was right. Just the timing was a little off. But they're in terrible shape. And it just gets worse every day. And you say to yourself, what is the answer? Well, the answer is stop spending. And they stop spending if they do that. Next, they have lots more unemployment. And they've got such a sub-economy there in that state. Tremendous amount of illegal aliens. It's probably maybe 7 or 8 million in California.
Now, the immigration problem, in the United States is probably 20 plus million, I believe. And I mean, from what I understand, quite a few of them have left the United States because the work is just not available.
Well, that is true. And that's going to continue to deteriorate. And, you say, well, what is the answer? Well, most of the people who illegally went to the United States, they had an average of a third-grade education, and this is where the problem lies. It's a cultural problem, and that's why it's not gotten better. I mean, there are those that go on to higher education, but there's not many of them. And that usually comes with the third or fourth or fifth generation. And there are that many in California, but those are legal ones.
Right.
A lot of Latin Americans, Mexican Americans in California and in the United States whose families have been there since the 1920s. And they don't speak Spanish. It's really funny because you talk to them and you expect them to speak Spanish and they don't.
Right. Well, and I of course, I've run into that living in Arizona quite a bit myself. What do you make of this with Papandreou at this G20 meeting with with Sarkozy, and then this complete turnaround all of a sudden?
Well, he was trapped. You got to remember he's a Bilderberger, but he still wanted to hope that he could survive this onslaught, so to speak. And it just didn't work out. So he was trying to protect himself, and that protection was the last hope was to get into a referendum And then when the people say, well, we don't want that, then he says, well, it's not my fault, it's their fault, because they say they don't want it. On the other hand, he went to Khan, and Sarkozy told him, look, you're one of us, but it doesn't mean you can't get a bullet in your head. This is exactly what he said to him. And then he Papandreou explained to Sarkozy why he did what he did. He says it doesn't make any difference. You don't do that. We don't want democracy. We want to herd the people around like sheep. And so they brought in the hatchet man, Papademos. And one of these things, the other things, all these people have in common. They're all Bilderbergers. A number of them are members of the Illuminati. In the case of Papademos, and one other thing, they're all ex-alumni of Goldman Sachs. I mean, it's incredible how many there are that are alumni. And so they all think the same way. They all do the same thing. And the bankers wanted to loot Greece, and they couldn't get away with it. And they're on a mission to save themselves now, because the banks that bought the bonds, essentially lending the money to Greece, they're all broke. So they've got to figure either a way to save all of these countries from going under, or somehow getting the public to pay all the debt. And as you've seen this past week, Sarkozy and Merkel have given up. And they know that they can't save Italy, and they can't save the rest of them. The bill's too big. I think it's $2.5 trillion to save Italy, and the money just isn't there. And so I think they just said, well, let's save the banks and let the chips fall where they may. And they sent this Papademos into Greece to do the job. He's going to destroy the country. That's his job. And nobody realizes it except the people who know his background. He was the head, he worked for the Bank of Greece in 1985. And he was there when Judge Papandreou's father, Andres, was looting the country. And that was followed by his participation with Goldman Sachs and Mickey Mouse in the books in order to get Greece into the Eurozone. And he became the governor of the bank, and then from there went to be vice president and assistant to Trichet in the European Central Bank. And from there, he spent a year behind the scenes advising Papandreou. And from there, he goes into his current job. He's a Bilderberger, an Illuminist, and he belongs to the Trilateral Commission and has for about 14 years. So this is the kind of people they stick in everywhere. You can take every one of them. Mario Draghi. Mario is a graduate of Goldman Sachs University, so to speak. And all he is a hatchet man. Neapolitano the president of the House and Senate in Italy, he's an ex-communist. I mean, these people are real beauties. It's like bureaucratic musical chairs. The
That,
politicians, it doesn't matter what party, they all take their orders from the bank.
yeah, it's unbelievable. And yet again, I don't know how people could possibly elect these people, or how do they get even into office? They're unelected. Some of these people they get into office. I mean, aren't people awake here? I mean, what's the matter with them? They're destroying your countries are being destroyed, and yet you let these shenanigans continue.
Well, quite frankly, they don't know. If they were not to discuss it with you or I or someone like us that knows these things, I mean, they don't have that as front page news in La Stampa or Observatorio Romano. These people don't know. They know there's all kinds of corruption and it's a criminal enterprise. They come to terms and work with it, but they don't know that there's something like. They don't even know what P2 is, and that's a Masonic order in Italy, which is controlled by the bankers
Is that
and
also
others, so to speak.
is that also part of the Club of Rome, the P2?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, and it's all mixed up with the Gladio, which is the underground that was set up by the OSS in Italy during the Second World War. It was never disbanded. It's still in operation.
Well, and then you have the criminal cabal, the Vatican, at the very head of the very head of the snake, part of this whole system. It's disgusting. It's one corrupt, satanic system that these monsters have created. And the thing is that if people would just open their eyes and see things for what they are, this whole system would be non-existent. But the unfortunate part is people are too caught up in their daily lives, their own little bubble, to see how they've been manipulated and their currencies destroyed. But everybody, stick with us. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino. You're listening to the incredible Mr. Bob Chapman. We'll be right back after this break. And welcome back, everybody. This is the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Papino, and as always, you're listening to the incredible Mr. Bob Chapman, our fearless leader, who is navigating us through this new world, through the new world deceivers. And we were just touching on what was happening in Europe. And Bob, I wanted to talk about uh, Silvio Berlusconi, who is now uh, resigned as the PM.
I didn't know he had actually resigned yet. I didn't see that. He kept on promising he was after Umberto Bassi,
Yeah.
who was a friend of his, said, no, you got to get out. And he said he would, but I don't know whether he had actually gotten out yet. But be as it may, um, he'll probably leave.
Well, I mean, regardless of whether he leaves or not, he did the job. I mean, he's basically destroyed Italy's economy, being the eighth largest. I mean, there's no way they can recover, and there's no way Germany's going to bail them out. Angela Merkel is sick and tired of pumping out the cash.
Well, I don't like Mr. Berlusconi, but you got to give him his due. He inherited a can of worms, and there was no way of extricating the country because of the political culture. I mean, it goes on and on and on as to where they're going and what they're going to do. About maybe 6 or 8 years ago, the communists were voted out of power. They were only in for a couple of years. I mean, they just turned the whole system upside down. They stole everything that wasn't nailed down and said something he inherited. But he's a member of the Illuminati. He's a billionaire. He loves to go to parties. And I get a letter from somebody we know in Rome. They said, not many people know this, but he goes to these parties and whatever they call them, and he can't participate and has not been able to participate for 15 years. He has a physical problem, and I guess not many people know that. And so he hasn't been doing all of these dastardly things that they've been saying he has because they don't know what we know now.
Right.
But anyway, he's been an attendee, but that doesn't mean anything. But anyway, he has, I think, has, because of his mannerisms, the way he acts, the way he struts around, I think he thinks he is this generation's El Duce, which is Benito Mussolini. Because there's no question he's a fascist. And and his friend Bossi's right on the line, too. And but anyway, they're going to have a centrist government under Mario Monti, who's another ex-Goldman Sachs leading light. I mean, it gets old after a while. You look at their resume, and if Goldman Sachs isn't there, J.P. Morgan Chase is. And these are the people who helped them and Greece fix their books using derivatives so they could qualify for the euro. And I made a big thing about it, writing at that time, which is 12 years ago, maybe 11 years ago, that they didn't qualify in the books from Mickey Mouse. And that's exactly the term I used. And I was right. And you want to know why they did it? For business. Simply business.
Unbelievable. It really is. I mean, the players are all interchangeable, and it's all the same team. It doesn't matter what whether they're hitting or catching. It's all the same thing. It's just a disgusting fact. And I can't personally, Bob. I can't wait till this whole system comes crumbling down, and it has to, in order to have some sort or get some sort of uh, real backed currency with gold and silver uh, back as a standard. But I just hope it doesn't come down to the fact that they're going to back uh, this new monetary system with gold and silver, but still bring in their new world order, which could very well happen.
That's true. I saw Ron Paul get that question from Maria Bartoloma, and she asked him, well, what's the best thing for the system? And he said it's got to be purged. Anything short of that is a waste. And he's right. And why? He didn't tell them why, because then they would have went berserk.
Right.
The seat of power of the Illuminati, the real seat, is control of all the finances of the world. So if the banking system of the world comes down, they lose everything. And then people can take them in each individual country and try them for doing the things that they've done, civilly as well as criminally, and take away whatever ill-begotten riches they still have from them and their families and put it into national treasuries to refund them. And the purge has to happen. There's no other way to do it. You can avoid a purge by having a situation where all debt is forgiven. And that's happened many, many times in the past. And but that's too easy. Is you'd go and do that, and then the bad guys just start all over again. So you've got to bring down the system. And once the system down, it's not going to be nice either. You're not going to have any money in your checking account because your bank's going to be broke. Will you have a job? Who knows? How they're going to pay you? I don't know. But it's got to happen. Because if we continue to do what we're doing, they're just going to roll in the same old system, fund it with a new currency or currencies, and they're going to go right on the way, the same bunch of criminals doing the same thing they've done for centuries. And we can't allow that, because then we haven't solved anything.
You're absolutely right. It'd be just that, it'd be the same system with a new face, more or less. But another question here is, Bob, that I'm thinking, and I don't know, but I'd like to get your opinion on this, that if Europe gets, it is burning, but when its final collapse comes in, this could be before the 2012 elections. If that were to happen, because we are directly tied in the markets there, the rigged markets, of course, but they go down, we go down a week or two later, would they or could they suspend the elections, making Obama dictator? And do you think that might be a military coup at that time from the United States?
Yes, all of that is possible. And I think, unfortunately, the saving factor is going to be the military, because they're not going to do what these people in Washington are going to tell them to do. And I get emails all the time, and I'm on a program which deals with current and retired military people, and they all say the same thing. We're with the people, not the government. I think they made a big mistake putting Obama in as president. The reason is everybody knows he's not a citizen. And so in the mind's eye of these individuals in the military, and usually people who are in to spend their professional career there, they're not going to go along with this. And that's very important because if you get a situation like that, you have the distinct possibility of a coup. And it could very well come to that because these people aren't going to stop. They're going to the bitter end. And this time they're going to lose.
Well,
That's why they listen to all my broadcasts and then try the best to jam me off the air. It was a jammer on last week and the week before, one of the programs. And then they try to, they're taking me off YouTube. Every time something goes up, they take it down. That's not YouTube, it's U.S. government.
right. Well, they haven't taken the
They,
ones
they
down that we've done yet, Bob. Thank God.
well, that's good. Uh, they uh, uh, they also have written to some of the people whose programs I'm on, telling them they're a vile beast that should be caged and put off in the Schwaben forest someplace, you know.
These people are despicable scum. Uh, you know what amazes me too is that you have so many of these people who, when they first started out in these careers, were, you know, really out to make a difference and change things and not be part of this illuministic system, but they become entrapped uh, through the power structure.
Well, they have a vested interest in the current structure functioning. If the structure is purged, they're losers. I mean, if they're police, they don't get paid. If they're an officer of the court, an attorney, they don't get paid. They work for the federal, state, all those governments. They don't get paid. They lose all of their retirement. Well, they're going to lose it anyway, but they just don't know that. So it intimidates people. Like when the federal government says, we're going to federalize the police, some of the um, police chiefs fight back and say, no, we're not going to do that. But most of them don't. They go along with the program. And so then you go to the police, and they're told, well, if you don't join the program wholeheartedly and keep your mouth shut and go along with it, you're not going to be around very long.
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
the same thing in business. I mean, if you work for a major transnational corporation, and you talk like we are in this program, I mean, they'll have you out of there and nothing flat.
Yeah. It's one corrupt system, one complete and total corrupt system. And I, for one, keep telling you, I can't wait till for this thing to come down, because I'd like to be at the forefront of uh, this change. However, I can assist uh, as a part of restructuring uh, a system of wealth, health, and happiness, not a system of tyranny, corruption, and uh, depopulation.
Well, people are going to be in for a big surprise because the American way of life, as we have known it, is gone. Can we get it back? Yes, we can. But we're going to have to fight to do it. And there's too many people out there saying, well, even though I'm out of a job, or I've lost my business, I'm not going to get involved in that. Well, don't. I mean, they have an internment camp spot waiting for you right now.
No question about it. Well, I would say that I would say that a majority of people really don't understand, but we're gaining in strength and numbers, Bob. That's the biggest positive we have. There's so many of us waking up to this structured financial collapse and system of total control. And as more people wake up, you'll have more resistance, and the eventuality of it all is that we can win this. We absolutely can win this, but we have to be strong. We have to be united, and without unification, it is lost. And these kids on Wall Street and all over the world, I think they're starting to come to a single voice understanding. It's not happened yet, but I think it'll be there probably into next year sometime.
Well, I hope you're right, because most of them are not interested in listening, and they know what's going on. They're taking full advantage of the earning power, and they've got their hideaways built and well armed, and some of them have personal armed helpers, and so they know what's going on. And what do you think? J.P. Morgan Chase gave, I think it was
Yeah.
$4 million to the New York Police Department, New York City. I mean, that's a substantial amount of money. So, in essence, when you get gifts like that, you're buying them.
Right.
And that's true in every country, in every business. You always have people who are willing to take money to do things to protect other people when they shouldn't. And I did a program about 3 months ago with Serpico. Interesting man. I'd love to do another one with him. I was on another program, and he and I were on together. I can't remember why. But anyway, I mean, this guy had a lot of brass doing what he's doing. But the corruption is so deep. It's been going on for a long, long time. In every country, there are no exceptions.
Well, I just can't wait for it to come down. I'm patiently sitting here waiting, because I know what to expect, because I've been listening to you for a long time, and you've always been on the money. I want to talk about silver here real quick, Bob. It looks like we might be having a breakout of silver here pretty soon. I've read a couple of articles on this, and I believe I read this in your forecaster too.
Well, I don't pay too much attention to the technical aspects, and the reason why is that the market's manipulated, and using charts and stuff like that is pretty difficult. But silver closed on Friday in the December market, $34.65, and it was up 54 cents on the day. And I expect that it'll go to 36. If it breaks that, it'll go to 40. If it breaks 40, it'll probably go to 50. A lot of leverage there. And I think a good part of the naked shorting has been covered. And they got no reason to do anything except go long now or go short later.
Okay. So, I mean, do you so if they covered their shorts and there's no reason for them to go beyond what they've done, because I think it was in somewhere in the upwards of 700. uh, I'm not sure if this is correct, but it was 700 ounces. No, it was a lot more than 700 ounces. That can't be right. It was 72,000 ounces, or somewhere in that vicinity, that a lot of these elite have purchased for themselves. I'm not sure if that number is correct.
Well, I don't even know that they have. And one of the problems in the newsletter business today is there's so much misinformation. I mean, one of the people who comes out with a lot of that sort of up-to-the-minute information has been caught, 3 or 4 times recently with bad information. And so you got to be careful,
Okay.
and you got to see where it's coming from. And even they can't be uh, relied upon fully. I mean, you got to think through the thing yourself. Does this sound reasonable? And you got to take it from there. So I don't know about that. There are some publications I know for sure are in there to get people running in the wrong direction. And so you got to watch out for them. I get very careful. And some of the times it's the smallest things. It has nothing to do with money and credit or anything like that. You just got to be on the lookout.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's hard to discern, and there's a lot of disinformation going on. And again, I don't know if that was correct or not, but it's just something I ran across. Uh, but regardless of the point, you're right. Silver, if it touches, like you said, from now 34 to 36 to 40 to 50, then there could be because it's already hit 50 once before, and of course they manipulate it back down. So it could very well turn around back to that 50 mark and well exceed that. You're absolutely right. But anyway, we're coming. It's pretty much the end of the show here, Bob. As always, give out your information to the audience uh, so they can get a hold of your forecaster um, and all the information that you provide.
Well, the International Forecaster is about business, finance, economics, social and political issues all over the world. We publish by email on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Usually runs around 35 or 40 pages. We have a hard copy that goes out twice a month for those who are not on the internet, and for those who uh, would like to find out what is going on, really going on each week, they should get the International Forecaster. You can get a free introductory copy by going to theinternationalforecaster.com. Forecaster, Forecaster.com. You can also go to www.intforecaster, Forecaster.com. For those of you who'd like to have a question answered, we answer them all, and or get a copy of the report, or get a copy of our latest report on gold and silver shares, email us, and that address is Bob, B-O-B, at INTFORECASTER.com. Bob at intforecaster.com.
Well, Bob, as
For
always,
those, let me give them a phone number here.
absolutely.
For those who would like to call toll free, that number is 877-479-8178. 877-479-8178. You can get copies there, and as well, they have a special deal for those of you who would like to become subscribers. They offer a free subscription, and the deal that they're making is really terrific.
Absolutely. And Bob, I want you to take care of that cold. So, lots of vitamin C, echinacea, help you through that, and hopefully you'll be feeling better by next week. I want to thank you as always for being on this broadcast, and I'll see you next week sometime. And you take care of yourself.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bob. Bye bye. And this has been the Whole Agenda Radio Show. I'm your host, Robert Pepino, and second hour is coming up. Stay with us.